See the breaking story. Washington on high alert this evening and all weekend. The release of a redacted Mueller report could come at any time. It will drop amid bombshell claims by the Attorney General himself that Obama-era officials spied on the Trump camp. Claims that several Democrats have denied, including former Obama officials denying it, like former FBI Chief James Comey.
When I hear that kind of language used, it's concerning because the FBI and the Department of Justice conduct court-ordered electronic surveillance. I have never thought of that as spying. If the Attorney General has come to the belief that that should be called spying, wow, that's going to require a whole lot of conversations inside the Department of Justice. But I don't know what he meant by that.
Wow, he says. Here now exclusively, President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani. Would you like a chance to cross-examine him, sir?
Oh, gosh, yeah. My goodness. I mean, he doesn't realize that the dictionary definition of surveillance is spying or vice versa. I mean, does he know that there are certain things called synonyms? But in any event, you know, Jim, unfortunately, has disgraced himself as head of the FBI. The ridiculous way he conducted the Hillary Clinton investigation.
So what is he hiding?
He's hiding the fact that he probably perjured himself with regard to the Pfizer applications. He's certainly engaged in a word he loves, gross negligence. He presented an application to the Pfizer court where he has a special obligation to tell the other side of the story because it's never told. And I helped create the Pfizer court, so I think I probably understand it maybe a little better than he does. And I sure understand the obligations you have better than he does.
So what is your reaction?
So he presented the Steele dossier as if it was a piece of intelligence. It wasn't a piece of intelligence, Ed. It was a piece of garbage. I've read intelligence documents. You go through the first 3 pages. This is something that should be, you know, read in some dirty club or something. And it's really ridiculous. And then he never did anything to corroborate it.
Yeah.
He said it's unverified. He's the director of the FBI. He's supposed to verify it, Jim. You got to verify it. Here's what you could verify. You could have asked Steele, when is the last time you were in Russia? He'd have told you 9 years ago. Or you could have looked at his passport documents.
Sure. So
that might have raised a question about whether it was phony or not.
So,
or there's a specific allegation that Michael Cohen was in Prague on a particular date. I can't imagine FBI agents on their own not checking out with the passport office. Let's see if we can verify this little piece of information with this highly questionable document.
So, Mr. Mayor, this has not been investigated thoroughly. Now, William Barr saying it was spying. How significant is that? Eric Trump was on Fox and Friends this morning saying now there's an adult in the room and they're going to get to the bottom of it.
Thank God. I mean, it's been a long time that we've had equal justice. I mean, the revelations of crimes committed by the people who instigated this investigation and some of the things they've done along the way are actually much more concerning than the ridiculous allegation of collusion, which has no substance. So, the crimes were committed by the people who instigated this investigation. It starts with the 4 applications to the Pfizer court, which are fraudulent. They're phony. They're false.
Let me ask you whether you're concerned, though. You're in Washington conducting this interview, and we appreciate it because you're waiting for the redacted version of the Mueller report. Are you nervous? Are you going to have a rebuttal ready if there's information that suggests that they came close to obstruction? What are you nervous about?
I've been waiting for the time to do that, you know, for almost a year now. So yeah, we're ready, and we'll be ready for anything they throw at us. I suspect it'll be nothing that we're not prepared for, or haven't thought of, or the president hasn't thought of. And we were ready for it 3 months ago. And the reality is there was no collusion. It's a joke, but it's worse than a joke. It was a setup. It was a specific conspiracy to frame him. I think the facts are starting to come in on that. Pay attention to Ukraine, something that, what do we call it, the mainstream media won't cover, the scandal going on there, the investigation by the Ukrainian government of Ukrainians who possibly conspired with the Clinton campaign.
Right.
And
those allegations are out there. But
to create the Manafort dossier or Manafort Black Book, and possibly, if Comey had looked and realized that Steele wasn't in Russia for 9 years, he might have asked, well, where did this come from? But I think there might be an answer to that in a week or two.
Mr. Mayor, I got two other quick questions. One, but did the president and others spike the football too soon since you didn't see the full report yet? Are you concerned that you say no collusion? I got it. But on obstruction, are you concerned?
Obstruction, I'm ready to debate obstruction, you know, for 50 hours, anybody who wants to debate it. Obstruction is a created fiction. The President of the United States did not obstruct. How can you obstruct when there's no underlying crime? Everything they're talking about that he did, this is an innocent man defending himself. If I'm accused of robbing a bank and I didn't do it, and I was with my friend the night that it happened, and I tweet out and I write to my friend and I say, please tell them the truth. And if you don't, you're a rat because you're lying. That's an innocent man defending himself. That is not a corrupt intent.
Last question,
That is not
Mayor.
obstruction. What they are trying to take away from us, Weissman and Mueller's gang, these deranged Democrats, is our ability to defend ourselves. And damn it, I'm not going to let them do that. I mean, we're going to defend ourselves. The president is innocent. He's innocent of collusion. They are guilty of trying to frame him, and he's completely innocent of obstruction.
Mr. Mayor, I've got very short time. What do you think about Congresswoman Omar and what she said about 9/11?
She's a disgrace. I mean, how can I not feel that way? I lived through it. I lost good friends, and as I wrote last night, I watched the children grow up without mothers and fathers, and something, Congresswoman, did happen. Don't demean it. Don't hurt these people. I don't know what your politics are. I'm really confused by it. I don't know what your sense of America is. I hope it's there, but I'm sure it is. But you did something wrong, and I'd like to see you apologize for it, and maybe we got a straight path then. And I'd like to see some of the Democrats have the courage to speak out against her. I'm getting the feeling that they live under a censorship of, you know, left-wing propaganda.
Well, when she made the comments that were seen as anti-Semitic, they had a resolution, but they didn't even name her, Mr.
That
Mayor.
was garbage,
they haven't
that
taken her on.
resolution. I mean, that was so cowardly. They should be hiding somewhere.
Mayor Rudy Giuliani, we appreciate
Take
you
care.
coming in, and we'll be watching and waiting as you are this weekend. Thank you, sir.
A top advisor to President Obama pleading not guilty just a short time ago to 2 charges linked to the Mueller investigation. Former White House counsel Greg Craig, right there, he appeared in federal court accused of making false statements related to his lobbying work for Ukraine. Craig strongly denies doing anything wrong.
I did not participate in a scheme to mislead the government or conceal material facts. I was always honest about the reasons for my contacts with the media. This prosecution is unprecedented and unjustified. I am confident that both the judge and the jury will agree with me.
Sean Spicer is a former White House press secretary and senior advisor for the America First Action Super PAC. Of course, that supports President Trump. Sean, good to have you here with me today, even though I wished you were here in person. I want to read to you something from Rod Rosenstein. He doesn't speak often, but he gave a speech today talking about the Attorney General and his plans to release the Mueller report. He said it would be one thing if you put out a letter and said, I'm not going to give you the report. What he said is, look, it's going to take a while to process the report. In the meantime, people really want to know what's in it. I'm going to give you the top line conclusions. That's all he was trying to do. And I don't think there's a lot to quibble with there. What about you?
I agree. I think this is just a timing. The Democrats are impatient. They wanted Mueller to come up with conclusions that substantiated the charges that they made against this president. When that fell short, they had protected Mueller, talked about how his integrity was beyond being questioned. When Mueller didn't substantiate the political charges they made, they've moved on to now attack Bill Barr. Bill Barr, who spent several years in the CIA, assistant U.S. attorney, assistant attorney general, deputy attorney general, and now attorney general twice. He's doing his due diligence. There's grand jury testimony and there's classified material in that report. And I think he's doing what's right to go beyond what he's supposed to do and making sure Congress has access to all of the underlying information.
The other thing is that, James Comey, the former FBI director, he had some thoughts about the Bill Barr report and the issue of spying. Listen to this.
With respect to Barr's comments, I really don't know what he's talking about when he talks about spying on the campaign. The FBI and the Department of Justice conduct court-ordered electronic surveillance. I have never thought of that as spying.
And then, Sean, listen to this. Matt Miller, he used to work at DOJ under the Obama administration. He said the FBI obtained all of Hillary Clinton's emails, reviewed them, and the FBI director attacked her at a press conference. He then disclosed a further probe into her right before the election. But yes, Trump was treated unfairly. I mean, the Clinton people also have problems with what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. But look at the nut of what's being discussed now in terms of the spying. As I mentioned in Bill Barr's resume, he spent several years at the CIA, aside from his distinguished and long career at the Department of Justice. This is a man who understands the difference between all of those various terms that are being thrown around. And I would trust his judgment. He sees and reviews countless avenues of classified information. And so while Director Comey, who's no longer in the government, isn't privy to that, I think Bill Barr's interpretation of things really matters in this particular case.
The other thing I did want to ask you about is because, I can't get enough of 2020 and of all the, every week there's going to be a new Democrat that's running. The campaign manager, Brad Parscale, was asked about any concerns he has going into 2020. Watch this.
I'm not real worried about any of them right now. I think they're going to beat up each other so much. I'm expecting another 15, I think, by next weekend. None of them have even touched us in one metric yet. They can play catch up all they want.
Would love to hear your thoughts about where you see things right now as the stuff, it's not that, it's kind of far away, but it's not really that far away if you think about when the first votes will be held in the primary less than a year from now.
That's absolutely right. I mean, it feels like it never stops. But the reality is that people didn't give us a chance in 2016, and we had this hidden trifecta. We had Brad Parscale, who's a talented digital strategist and marketer. We had Bill Skelly pulling in the most robust data operation that any party's ever seen and building profiles on every 190 million voters, Republican, Democrat, and independent, to tell us what they were. And then Chris Carr, the political director, using both of those avenues to make sure that the president was in the right place and delivering the message that was the most effective. Because
that might have been true in 2016, but it's super professionalized now, right?
Right, but unlike the fact all of these candidates are out there running that operation on their own or trying to build it from scratch. This is a proven entity that won in 2016, and all it's done since then is become more robust. The president announced the day of his inauguration that he was running again, and that operation that Brad is leading right now has continued to grow. You have America First Super PAC now augmenting that, going out there making the case for his policies and his candidacy. So we've got a well-oiled machine on all cylinders while they're just getting off the ground trying to figure out who's up and who's down.
They are. Well, we'll keep covering it, and we'll invite you back, of course. Sean Spicer, thank you.
You bet.